Today on Brandon Sanderfans, the end of an era.
It's the beginning of the end.
It's also the end of the end, like it all ends.
Right now.
Today.
Intrigue.
Disaster pieces.
Mystery.
Misaster pieces.
Murder.
One of our podcast hosts will have dramatically better audio quality. Can you guess which one?
I can.
It's going to be the third host. Neither Ben nor Sam, but Salmon, our third host.
His last name is our third host. It's so dumb.
Mr. Our third host, would you like to speak at all?
It's Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam.
Oh, that's why we don't let you speak. That was acoustically dramatic, but in like a negative way. Like, think of an atomic bomb dramatic.
Some people say I sound like Ray Romano. My brother is tall.
No, dude, is that you, Ray Romano? Do you like Brandon Sanderson books?
I do. I fixed his roof once.
I don't know what.
You fixed Ray Romano's roof once, or you are Ray Romano, so you fixed your own roof?
Oh, he left.
One person in this episode will die. Actually, like 30 people. Lots of people are gonna die.
A lot of dead.
Because there's a lot of expendable characters as well that we don't get the names of.
Get ready for Mistborn, the Final Empire, the Reckoning.
2. Deep Reckoning.
Hey everybody, that was a crazy opening, wasn't it? Anyway, this is Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. I'm your co-host Sam with my best friend Ben. How are you, Ben?
Hi guys. I got a new microphone, so if it sounds better to any of you, you can thank my wife for letting me purchase a new microphone with the money that she's made from her job.
Thank you, Ben's wife. You are a scholar and an amazing woman. And we want to give you a gift, and that's to have Ben's great audio instead of his old audio, which wasn't bad, but this is better.
It's fine, you know. It was from just a headset, like I was a plebe in a call center, speaking into a headset, like I was calling people bad names on the internet. Like,
is that what they do in call centers? I've never been to one.
Sam, why do you, that's why you don't pick up the phone when a call center calls you.
It's true. I'm afraid that they'll call me a noob.
This is the last episode of Mistborn. I was playing with the idea of just not releasing this episode, and so people just keep on going, but people were just like, wait, where's this last episode? And then just like the search will kill them, just looking for so long. But I don't know if we could do that to our Sanderfan fans.
You know, I mean, we've thrown so many curveballs at them. The numerous bits, goofs, voices, improvisations, impressions, ventriloquism, sleight of hand, illusory magic, Farukami, Alamancy. What are we talking about? Oh. So if we were to, just not give this episode, if we were not put it out, I think that they'd take it as a goof. And then they just kind of forget about it, and they'd move on to Well of Ascension. And then if we released it later, they'd be like, I think we already heard this. Didn't we already hear this? I don't remember. Why are they talking like that? Ben's audio sounds great.
So in Will of Ascension, I'm just going to go back to the headset. This is just a loaner mic. I'm only going to use it for this one episode.
Oh my gosh. Well, if Ben's audio sounds good, mine should sound pretty different as well because I'm wearing glasses.
That does change the acoustic sound a lot. Have you ever taken a tuning fork and placed it like on your jaw or on your forehead or something, like have it ring through your body? Yeah, it's like that. That's what your glasses do.
It's true.
That's why all the great opera singers wear glasses. The Phantom, he wore glasses.
Well,
Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, glasses.
Cats, they all had glasses.
They all had glasses. There's so many glasses in that. Spring Awakening, my favorite opera of all time. Just so many bespoke glasses in that. Each one was different. That's why they sounded so good while they were singing about their boy and girl parts.
My boy and girl parts are better with glasses. Yeah, I remember that song.
Was that Spring Awakening or Avenue Q? Who knows anymore?
Yeah, Spring Q, Avenue Awakening.
Sam, what do we do this week?
Well, we worked a little bit. I mean, you started your job, which is awesome. Oh, in the book,
yes,
we finished Mistborn. Like I feel like we just started this podcast a day ago, or at least a week ago. And I mean, it's been really cool.
Can you believe it, Sam? This is our 14th episode.
Good for us. We're getting to the middle of the double digits of. Well, not we're teenagers. We're podcast teenagers.
Yeah, podcast teenagers. Wait until we have 100 episodes, then we'll just be dead.
Like the Lord Ruler. Oh, spoiler alert.
If you haven't read these chapters, why are you even listening to this thing?
Yeah, don't listen to this.
How are you even getting to this episode? You know how it works by now.
Oh, man. But we read... Shoot. What chapters did we read? I know we finished it, but it was chapters 30-something and 30-something. Uh-huh. Anyway.
It's 37 to the end.
37 to the end. Yeah, and, well, I mean... I mentioned this to Ben when we were talking beforehand. For those of you who don't know how podcast works, you often talk beforehand to get some ideas, talk about, parts of the book, bits and goofs and whatnot.
Right.
I was telling Ben that these chapters were much shorter in comparison to others, which I know seems silly of me to say. It's obvious that they're shorter than the others, but there was still what still felt like so much information being pushed or being put in these chapters. Brandon Sanderson, he needed to finish, and he had an idea, or he knew how he was going to finish, and he knew he needed to get the climax out and to finish this first book. And I felt it was just the right amount of chapters, or excuse me, just the right amount of pages, just the right amount of words in each chapter to convey a bunch of information, still keep it interesting, and finish the book in such a good way that left me wanting so much more.
I agree. So the end of this book, I would say the number one thing that I feel when I finished Mistborn was I was surprised, but I was also incredibly satisfied. And surprised because I didn't think, like maybe some of you guys, the first time you read it, that they were actually going to be able to ever kill the Lord Ruler. I never believed that they actually could. He really sells very hard that the Lord Ruler is invincible. He's immutable. There's no way for them to... Every bit that... Because you know very well what Vin is capable of going into that last fight. And you're like, no way. Never. And he does do some, like, he does fudge it a little bit. Like, he gives her some abilities that we haven't seen before, but that do make sense, with the world that he's building and how he's bringing it up. And I think it also just makes sense, like, he wanted to have this certain resolution, and it needed to happen in this way at this time with these people. I feel like a lot of times people write off, like, great moments in history, if you look back on them, they were singular because the people that gathered at that point of time to accomplish whatever they accomplished were incredible, and they did incredible things. They had to be those people at that moment of time. So when I read books, I kind of read in a similar way. Like, if I think something's too incredible, it's usually I usually can easily justify it by no, but anything else wouldn't be the story that we're trying to tell, and it also wouldn't be true to what this world needed at this time. And I think it's more inspiring. It's a story after all, so why not be inspired by it a little bit?
Absolutely. That's a really good way of putting it. And it was inspiring. Obviously, we're not, Ben and I and you listeners and anyone else in the entire world, we're not trying to fight or destroy a Lord Ruler, so we cannot relate in that sense. However, you can be inspired by the hope that Kelsier created and by the actions that the people have taken to have a better world, and walk away from this book feeling inspired to do something great on your own terms, great for something in your own life. And and the fact that they were able to kill the Lord Ruler, and that all these Inquisitors were dead. It was such a... We mentioned in the last episode, I believe it was the last episode, people who had been put down for so long are now experiencing such a rush of emotions. It has to be euphoric. It has to be completely overwhelming. And that, I can only imagine that was tenfold, maybe even 100-fold that when they actually killed the Lord Ruler, when they were able to ram a spear through his chest and it actually worked. Mm-hmm. That was it. He was Gonzi's. He was dead. It had to have been it's such elation. And I know it's maybe not, it's a little macabre to say there was elation when they murdered this what was a frail old man who just wanted his jewelry back. But that absolutely was a happy moment. I would have been jumping for joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting into the chapters, this last bit, like you said, has so much in it. I have a feeling that we're going to be able to avoid some of it because most of it was just action. And, if you read it, you know what happened, you know what didn't. I want to talk about Ellen meeting Dockson for the first time.
Yeah.
Dockson, what a capable dude. Just literally moments after this entire rebellion had been thrust on him, and he's, the general of the armies. Maybe not the frontline general, that's definitely Hammond. But he's making sure he's organizing all of the armies and bringing everything together so that they can actually have a future, and it's not going to be this horrible mess where they just lose everything before it even gets started. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's like what you said last week, or maybe a couple weeks back, where I was like, George Michael never met Lucille too. Ellen's never met Dockson. I'm like, but you guys know. Oh wait, never mind. And when he sees Ham show up, and he's like, "Oh, you were there at the caravan, right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "So you know Valette? Valette will vouch for me." It's like, well, Valette got captured by the Lord Ruler, so she's not doing anything.
I think it was that same moment when Dockson basically said, "Oh, it's you," and Ellen's like, "Do I know you?" Dockson's like, no, but I know. Let's not worry about it. I don't have time for whatever you are. If I may jump ahead. Well, no, I guess let's stay on this. No,
no, you can.
I've said this before. I'm going to say it again until the end of this book, and probably into other books as well, where it's also, a matter of. Or it's in the writing. Brandon Sanderson does have a love story in this book between Valette, Vin, and Elend, and it is just so... It's just so appropriate. And hold on, let me explain. It's appropriate, obviously, there's no, she's in her underwear, but whatever, that's fine. But it's appropriate. It's an appropriate amount of affection, of description. The way that it's displayed between the two of them, it's such a perfect amount. And I know I keep coming back to this, but it's because I've read books and I've read stories where I'm just like, we get it. You like each other. just please stop.
Right.
Like this is not the focus. And Brandon Sanderson knows that for this book, her love for Ellen and his love for Vin, was not the focus. It was a main point. It was pivotal in her life of becoming the woman that she is and she will become, but it was not the focus. However, are we going over the epilogue, or are we... Mm-hmm. We're not touching that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going all the way through the end of the book.
But at the very end, he's just holding her, and she's happy in that moment to be held, and she realizes that's all she's wanted is that. And it was just, I was just like, my heart was warm. I was happy. I'm sure I think there was some smooching at one point, which I love me some smooches. But it's just such a good amount of love.
I love that moment too, because I think the word that best describes it for me is cathartic. So we have been with Vin the entire time from when she's been this beaten down orphan on the streets, who believes that everyone is out to get her. No one's ever going to do anything selflessly to help or prepare her. And in one night, she's proved by multiple people, by Sazed, by Elend, by Marsh, that they're going to be there and protect her and help fight her battles, that they're not going to betray or abandon her. And she also learns in that same night that Reen, her brother that said he would always betray her, that he died protecting her in the most horrible circumstances possible. And I remember reading, or I was listening to the audiobook, so listening to the retelling of her thoughts, how she realized that even Reen, who was supposed to hate her and betray her, still protected her all the way through the end. And Elend, who had no ability, was going to die for her. And so she decides that she's worth being protected, worth being held, worth being trusted, which she'd never had before. And so yeah, when she jumps down into Keep Venture with her broken leg and says, Elend, you read far too many books in the presence of young women. That moment, and then when he comes and holds her and doesn't say a word, and she realizes that's all she ever wanted in her entire life. That moment is more pure love than romance novels get in 400 pages. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. And it ends the book in such a sweet, genuine way. Because loving someone is that act of, even if it's hard, you're going to protect them and keep them close and fight for them. Even if you can't physically fight for them, you're going to do all that you can.
It's so symbolic because of Vin's ability far surpasses any strength that Elend has. He may be a good swordsman, he may have wrestled in high school, but he's not a dang Mistborn. She is, and yet there is that security found in love that you cannot find in any strength or any power or what have you. There is a security and a protection you can only find in the arms or in the embrace or even just in the heart of a loved one. And like Ben, like you said, it is such a sweet, perfect ending. You know, Brandon Sanderson could have ended this book with Lord Woolley being killed, and then with, like the end, and then another bold, stay tuned for, the second book in the Mistborn series, The Well of Ascension.
Stay tuned for next time when Spider-Man fights Doc Ock. And who's that? Is the Vulture coming back? I'm Stanley.
Stanley, wait for my...
I invented Spider-Man. That's how he leads every conversation.
Hello, Mr. Lee. Welcome to Wells Fargo. Do you have a deposit today?
Excelsior!
And then he throws a fistful of cash at them. For some reason, he still gets all of his paychecks in cash. He's very old-fashioned.
Very old-fashioned. Stanley, if that's how he wants it, that's how he gets it. I mean, we're not going to change him now.
I don't think you can. With all the genetic mutation and everything, the world's leading scientist can't get him to not say any of his catchphrases when he enters a room. Even if he's alone in that room, like the bathroom. You just hear an echo from across the house. Batman sucks.
That's one of his catchphrases.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Spiders eat bats. Did you know that? I wrote it into my book.
Oh, look, this spider shot something into her web. It says Bruce Wayne is the worst.
He just rewrote... Isn't that just Charlotte's Web? Are you just writing Charlotte's Web? I invented Charlotte's Web. His assistant leads over. Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. It's time for my nap. Where's my nap? I invented Nap Man. And then he falls asleep cuddling his blanket.
Oh man, can you imagine if you invented naps? Like, no one napped before you're like, hey, you know the sleep thing that we like so much? Why don't we do that, like, anytime? Just no sweat, guys.
And they laughed in his face when he said that. But boy, were they jealous when he woke up at 4 in the afternoon feeling great, and they felt like hot garbage. What do you think his name was? It was probably something like Stanley Naps.
But just Stanley. Just like his first name Stanley, last name Naps. It's something I loved about these, like, one, I want to show it, like, I think a really pure and perfect example of Brandon implementing his rules of magic. He's introduced Furukami a couple of different times to us, and we've never really been able to see in action, but we know that from different sources that you can store things and then draw upon them. So Sazed gets himself captured, so he'll show up with Vin. He swallowed some a metal mind so that he can store strength. And
awesome.
And he lets it be exactly what it is. He actually spends a couple minutes storing up strength so that he can get strong enough to rip his chains and rip off the bars of her cell, and they can escape. I think that's just a textbook what Brandon's talking about when he's talking about expand on what you already have, explain in certain tenses. Don't let the solution come at the expense of misinformation for the reader. He gave us all the information we needed already, and maybe we didn't piece it together until that moment, but like when you do, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel smart. It's putting new connections in your brain and making you think about things from problem solving and mechanical setting. It's good writing because it makes you feel good inside. And I wish that we had more of that, but it's great, and I really love that moment.
Bump worthy, especially because you think back to one of Brandon's rules of writing is when in doubt, err on the side of awesome. How awesome is it that Sazed, this thin James Cromwell-like character, is just like, hold up, mistress, I need a minute, and then becomes somewhat of a deflated baguette, and then just all of a sudden he's like, I am like Dr. Jekyll.
Sam, my favorite food, the deflated baguette. I hate it when they inflate those baguettes with muscles.
And then much like Mr. Hyde from The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, except not sucking.
My favorite movie.
I'm hitting it out of the park with these references. He becomes this orb of muscles and just busts through a wall. I'm very bad at similes. No, I didn't. Not similes, metaphors. But you get. I'm with you on there. With you there, Ben. It was really, really cool, and it was just enough to give us another a nice big glance into what Furukami is, and of course we find out lots more about Furukami in the other books. But this is such a great ending to this book. It was the perfect ending.
I completely agree. I want to skip ahead, just go straight to the final showdown. So we have a perspective of Carr, who's an Inquisitor. It's the first time, I think, ever that we get a perspective from an Inquisitor. We'll have to keep track in future books, but I don't know if we ever get back in the head of an Inquisitor after this, or if we do, it's for another short burst. But like he speaks like he's a completely different. He's not. He says that he's a better creature, that he's greater human, but he doesn't feel very human. Like they have to rest more. They have like different desires and wants and needs. And then, just out of nowhere, crashing down on his parade, in comes from across the window. It rains. Pennies from heaven.
Oh my gosh.
Pennies from heaven.
Oh wow.
Vin just comes in and racks everyone, blows out. The thing is, I was just like, the Lord Ruler wouldn't have a window that's that weak, right? I mean, I guess he doesn't need to have like a crazy good security system because he is a security system.
Correct.
And he's probably never in that throne room. And like Mistborn, a Mistborn would never actually go up there because it'd just be a death wish. Mm-hmm. But I just think that that's one of the cooler images. You have this spectacle and just racked with this flurry, this shotgun shells of just coins coming in and money raining down on everyone.
Where do you think she got all those coins?
From all the guards that she killed. She killed like 22 guards in the previous scene.
And they all had like piggy banks on the wall, and they're like, "This is if we get enough, we're gonna go to the pool."
They fight with piggy banks, Sam. They just have piggy banks and they swing around. That's a good magic system. We haven't thought of that yet.
Piggy bank magic. We're gonna put that one in the books.
You know, we did have money magic, so it could be related to that, but
it could be the Farukami of money magic.
I'd love to see, because this is probably like one of the last moments of levity we get in the movie, except for the very end where Vin says that snide comment to Ellen just to kind of break the tension and say that, hey, I want you and I want to be here and I like it. I would love to see in the movie if just, like, apropos of nothing, that needle drop, just like, every time it rains, pennies from heaven, shooby-dooby.
That would win Oscars. I proclaim it right now. What kind of... I feel like that would be a James Gunn move. Maybe not James Gunn. Maybe Guy Ritchie. No, maybe not Guy Ritchie. But I'd be Guy
Ritchie. I think either of them would do it. If nothing else, when we get the movie, we can get a fan edit of just that scene.
Every time it rains, it pours. Now that's gonna be stuck in my head all night.
I remember the first time I read the book, I'm like, ooh, Vin knows how she's gonna kill him, and she's like, I'm gonna burn the 11th metal and stab the ghost guy. I'm like, oh yeah, if that works, that'll be great. And then all you gotta do is stab this ghost guy. You can't stab ghosts. I'm sorry. No ghost stabs.
Well,
is there a movie where you can stab ghosts?
A movie?
In Supernatural, there's a knife where you can stab demons and ghosts, I think.
Ugh, let's not talk about Supernatural.
What movie are you thinking of that has ghost stabbing?
I could think of... Give me a minute.
The new Ghostbusters has, like, ghost iron knuckles. It was wacky, to say the least.
Too wacky. I have not seen the new Ghostbusters, but I was thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody out there, there's a movie called 13 Ghosts, I think is what it's called.
13 Ghosts, and they stab some ghosts in that?
To get rid of one of the ghosts, they have to trap it in this, like, maze of some kind, and then push it up against these shards of metal, I think. I have not seen it in such a long time, but it's got Matthew Lillard and the guy who plays Monk. What is his name?
Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, he's in it too. Anyway, I think they stab ghosts in that one.
Well, there are definitely ghosts in 13 Ghosts. Good job, Sam.
Thank you very much.
There's actually a Brandon Sanderson book where they stab ghosts. The Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell. They're like these shades is what they call them, but they're pretty much just like phantoms that live in this forest, and they can only be killed with or like kept at bay with silver. And so people go in there with silver weapons, like silver knives, and you can like stab ghosts with the silver. They won't get stabbed by other things, but you can try with the silver.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so
it's a good book. We'll get to it eventually. It's in the Cosmere.
Oh, excellent. So,
but okay.
I was gonna say, hold up. What were we just talking about?
We were just talking about pennies from heaven and
Pennies
stabbing
from Heaven,
ghosts.
stabbing ghosts. Then one of the coolest moments. One of them. There are many, but one of the coolest moments happens when the Inquisitor calls. Was it the Inquisitor that calls for other Inquisitors?
Yes, and another Inquisitor comes up.
And then Vin's like, oh great, I'm dead, everyone's dead, the Inquisitor's dead, wait, what? And the Inquisitor just falls to the ground, and there's another Inquisitor behind him that seems to have pulled something out of his back. And Ben, who was that Inquisitor?
It's Marsh. Marsh isn't dead. We didn't talk about it much in that episode, but we had thought that Marsh had died because he gave him a dead drop, and when they went to the safe house, there's just like body parts, and like it was disgusting, and there's just bloody everywhere. It's
Yuck.
gross.
Yuck.
And they're like, that's Marsh on the ceiling. That's Marsh on the floor. That's Marsh hanging out the window. That's Marsh being drug off by a dog. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, how could they tell that's Marsh? Do you think Kelsey was like, no, that's his spleen. I've seen it. Yep. That's it.
I've patched up that spleen more times than I can count. The thing is, like, they couldn't recognize anything because making an Inquisitor is an incredibly messy process, and we'll get into it in later books. But suffice it to say, those spikes don't only go through the Inquisitors; they go through other things before they get to the Inquisitors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes a big old mess. You know, it's a brawny commercial's nightmare.
They should have gone with that other thing. Da, 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 bounty.
The quicker bounty, the quicker picker upper. The thing that I like about this last fight, so Marsh gets rounded, like he gets owned, like in no time. And I get it, Marsh is like brand new to his powers, so like, and also he manages to rip off like the back of the Lord Ruler to see if there's a spike there that he can pull out, because you pull out the back spike, it disconnects the whole like system of spikes on an Inquisitor, and it like they fall apart and they die. So he tries to see if the Lord Ruler's rocking the same thing. Nothing. So they don't really know what's going on, but Vin sees the bracers on his arm, and as they're fighting, I like this fight because Vin just straight loses this fight the entire time.
Yeah.
The Lord Ruler can push on the metals inside of her body. He can throw her into the air. She's not wearing any metals. She's probably just wearing like her mist cloak and whatever the shift that she was wearing when she was put into jail, and just getting owned. Can you imagine getting drug around by the contents of your stomach? I know you know that a little bit, because every time you eat a milkshake, it feels like you're getting drug around by the contents of your stomach. But getting like thrown into the air and bashed into windows and stuff.
That happens too when I have my milkshakes.
It's like Poltergeist. You're just like flying around. Jeez.
Oh man.
This would be so horrifying in a movie too, because it's just like ripping out from inside of you. That's the worst. Like an alien.
Yeah. Or like in Avatar, when there's blood bending.
Yes, just like that. And the sounds that the blood bending makes. Oh, jeez.
Oh, no, thank you.
I love the idea of she doesn't really get to win against the Lord Ruler. She gets lucky, really, and there is some other help. The Miss surround her, and when she runs out of metal, she burns the mist for a short period of time. We learn that the mists are a little more intricately linked with the Mistborn. The mists are what made people become Mistborn in the first place, so there's kind of a mystery there to kind of unravel as well. But
Yep.
yeah,
Well, I have to say, I don't
Mhm.
know if she got so much lucky as she did desperate. Much like the
Yeah.
times when she was with Cayman, she would be desperate not to be beaten, that she used what she called luck, which of course we found out later is allomancy.
Mhm.
She called upon whatever little power that she could, even though she didn't know what it was, to escape such a situation. And so we find her in her final act, in her final moments of life, or at least what she thought, reaching out for whatever she could.
Mhm.
And that's when, she somehow, without her knowing exactly how, the mist came to her, or at least the mist came to her, and she was able to rip off the bracers from the Lord Ruler's arms and render him completely useless as a quote unquote god. And so it was an act of desperation. And maybe I shouldn't say lucky is not the right word, because it is absolutely lucky that she got away from that. I think those two could be interchangeable in this situation.
I mean, I would say that she's lucky. Lucky to be in love with her best friend. Lucky to again. How does that song go?
Something about cucumber sandwiches. Cucumber sandwiches.
Cucumber sandwiches.
That's that Jason.
Yeah, she's lucky to have cucumber sandwiches. There's no way that there's cucumbers in the Mistborn world, Sam.
Why not?
They're way too green and juicy.
What if they were gray and crunchy? You know what? Never mind.
You mean pickles? And then that's pretty much the end of the book. We get some wrap up stuff like Elend pretty much keeps the entire city from falling apart. That the Ska were just killing the guards even as they were surrendering, but he keeps them at bay. He basically appeals to their better natures and says, "Hey, we all want to build something better in the future, and if you do this, if you keep going, there will be nothing left for you guys to have at the end of your revolution. And it'll be all for nothing. Kelsier's death, Vin's sacrifice to kill the Lord Ruler, everything will be for nothing." If he knew that the Lord Ruler was dead by that point.
Let's not forget that we discover who the Lord Ruler is. We've read the logbook.
Yes.
And Vin deduces that the Lord Ruler is not the man who wrote the logbook.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact, his servant, Rashek. Is it Rashek?
His steward.
His steward.
Yeah.
Is it Rashek or
Rashek.
Yeah.
Or Rashek, yeah.
Rashek.
Rashek.
Once again, something I forgot, and that was mind-blowing to me. Still kind of is. Still trying to get over it.
Well, the interesting thing reading through the annotations was Brandon's original idea when he was building the plot for Mistborn is, what if Frodo got to Mount Doom and then kept the ring? What if? What if he took the power for himself instead of giving it up? And I know technically, even in the book, actually, and in the movie, he decides to keep the ring, and then there's like the whole Gollum thing that happens, but what if he actually was able to do it and then became the new, Sauron? That's pretty much what the Lord Ruler is. He killed the guy that was supposed to be the hero and went to the Well of Ascension instead. That's why the logbook stopped. We don't know exactly what happened there yet. We'll figure some more out. The next book is called The Well of Ascension. Or it's The Hero of Ages in the next book, right? No, that's the last book.
No,
the next book is called The Well of Ascension. So we're going to learn a lot more about the well, what it's for, what it does in the next book. But yeah, it's in his final words that you have no idea how I protected you. Like, all of this is keeping something worse than me at bay.
Chills.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we've been so focused on the Lord Ruler, we like, oh, but what happens when you kill your god? What happens then? Only good things, I hope.
Candy and unicorns, rainbows, and lucky charms.
Well, Sam, any final thoughts on Mistborn? We're going to do an entire episode that's a post-mortem on this book, but any final thoughts on these final chapters?
Yes and no. Yes, I'll just say yes. I don't want to say too much just because I'm very tired, and so I feel like I could just blather on about everything and nothing. But it was it was a really satisfying ending. I think the first time I read it, of course it was quite a while ago, but it was nice to read these and take the time to read them, and to really appreciate the beauty of the ending of this book that Mr. Sanderson wrote, because it really is well crafted, and it's satisfying with the ability. It's satisfying, and it makes me want to read more. And so it's not satisfying to the point where my thirst is quenched, but satisfying to the point where I can move on to the next, to what he has next. And we'll talk about it more in the post-mortem sesh, but it was really, really a good ending to a book. Ugh, if you're listening to this and you haven't read it, go read it again. Please. Oh, man.
Absolutely. I feel the exact same.
Yeah.
I feel the exact same, and we'll get more into it in the postmortem. I think what we're going to do next week is we're actually going to read through all of the chapter headers, so the annotations at the beginning of each chapter, the little preludes, for the logbook, and then we're going to speak more in depth about what was happening in those times, because that's really all the information we ever get about the time of Rashek and the Lord Ruler and the Hero of Ages and all that. So I want to read through that as well, and we can go in depth with that and talk about it with a little bit. One thing I want to do this week is Sam, let's make a new friend. Let's do some Sanderfans. This is where we make a new man, woman, or human to fill in the gaps in our favorite stories, to see if they're going to improve this story and make it even better. So let me just pull up random noun generator. Okay, we're going to generate 3 random nouns, and from the 3 random nouns, we're going to create a character, and I'm going to put the stipulation beforehand. I want this character to be someone that the Lord Ruler would know, and that maybe could prevent the Lord Ruler from dying in some way.
Oh.
So knowing what we know about the Lord Ruler so far, maybe someone that'd be a close advisor, or someone that would keep him from being killed altogether. So, are you ready, Sam?
Yes. Hit me.
The words are flip-flops, hell, type. Flip-flops, hell, type.
Type? Like T-Y-P-E?
I'm sending it to you in the Skype chat.
Okay.
Flip-flops, hell, and type. So I'm gonna put another stipulation right at the beginning. We've made 2 other people for Mistborn. They've both been dudes. Let's make this one a lady, and figure out how this flip-flop hell type person is gonna help the Lord Ruler from dying.
Oh boy.
So I'm gonna say,
okay.
The Lord Ruler, he loves his Inquisitors, right? They're like his sons. He hugs them and he puts them to sleep. They sleep so long, but he puts them to sleep every single night. And he loves them. But he can't trust them maybe with some delicate stuff. They're kind of blunt instruments. He needs someone like Vin. I'm going to say that he has just this random Lady Mistborn that he trusts above the Inquisitors, but they know nothing about. And yeah, she always wears flip-flops. Because guess what doesn't have metal in them?
Flip-flops.
Flip-flops. They don't got any metal in them.
She has a room in one of the towers. It's at the very, very top. Mm-hmm. It is filled with thousands of flip-flops. For just numerous for each occasion, for what kind of murdering mood that she's in. Maybe there's some comfortable flip-flops, maybe some tactile flip-flops. It's just an entire room dedicated to her flip-flops. And he is so happy to buy her more and have his artisans create more flip-flops, and then he kills them so that they don't know why he's creating flip-flops. Also, I'd like to think that...
You know that Devin created some of those flip-flops, too. Like, she went down to Devin, the master tailor, and he's like, I make good pants, what can I say? And she's like, make some flip-flops. And he made some flip-flops, but they were just, like, small pants for your feet. And she's like, these work. She loved them. Because Devin, how are you going to say no?
I was going to say, you can't say no to Devin. Especially because, like, just tiny pants for your feet sounds like the most adorable thing I've ever heard. So we've got... So she's this flip-flop wearing Mistborn. Now, Ben, what about that hell? I got an idea, but I'm not really sure how it fits into the Cosmere.
Hey, Sam, I'm going to say it. She's from hell.
Yep.
I'm not gonna tiptoe around this. She's a Mistborn from hell, and she loves her flip flops. I'm not gonna keep her from loving her flip flops, and I can't stop where she's from.
So
okay. And the thing is, like, maybe in hell, because it's in the center of the earth. Everyone knows that. That's normal hell theology.
You learned that in science class.
That's where all the heavy metals are. So maybe she, like, knows, like, secret techniques of pushing, like, the heavy metals. Like, you know, the Inquisitors can tell if people are lying because they can see, like, the metals in their body and see their emotions pretty much. Maybe she can do that, but, like, with subtle pushes and pulls of their emotions. Maybe she secretly attends every single ball, every single party, but no one even realizes she's there because she's just, like, manipulating their minds constantly to, like, not see her or not look at her or not try to steal her flip-flops because they're hers. And that's why no one in the Final Empire except her wears flip-flops, because, you know, if they knew how amazing they were, they'd all be wearing them, just like rings from the Lord Ruler.
And the flip-flops, I mean, I said tactile flip-flops. You know, she's not walking around a ball and it's like, you know, she's got those silent flip-flops. They just sound like this. Did you hear that? It's a silent.
No, Sam.
She just left the room. That's how good she is. So she's got those hell magics. She knows how to work with heavy metal. She's really into the crustaceans. I think
she's super into the crustaceans. I think she's the lead singer of the crustaceans. Like this.
Oh my
she
gosh!
Is legit.
Yes.
We got to give her a name. Sam, think of a letter.
Okay. Do you want me to say it out loud?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Q.
Quinn. Her name's Quinn.
Oh, that's a good name.
And when she shows up and she's about to kill you, like, she comes up and she's like, flop, 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 flop. Hello, I am Quinn. I am from hell, and you is dead. Just kills them. And then flies away into the night. Like, that's what it is. So she's not a Mistborn.
Oh,
she
okay.
is a Smokeborn. So mist doesn't curl around her. The smokes from the fires of hell curl around her. Wow. How awesome is that?
Wow. So, okay. I really like Quinn. I really like Quinn. I bet she's got, like, short hair, maybe some spiky short hair. I don't know. But what does type got to do with it? I'm thinking that she is helping the Lord Ruler create some sort of printing press.
Mm-hmm. I think that the Lord Ruler knows exactly what the printing press is, and he, I'm going to say that she invented the printing press, and normally he would suppress this knowledge, but because it's Quinn,
he's all about it.
He's all about it. So, have you ever seen NCIS?
Yes.
The main agent in NCIS, like, what he does, like, every single episode is he goes to his basement and he works on hand carving a boat. That's Quinn. In her free time, when she's not, designing new flip-flops or buying new flip-flops or wearing some amazing flip-flops, she is in her room and she is designing this printing press, making it perfect, making it excellent. And I think the Lord Ruler, when he's stressed, he comes down and he talks to her and he helps her with things and he describes things because he's older than her. She's still I think at some level she's still mortal, and that's why he kind of connects with her more. Because he kind of longs for that. And keeping with that theme, he's kind of feeling that split personality inside himself, that he's been suppressing technology, he's been suppressing the guillotine, and he's been suppressing printing presses and gunpowder and lots of things for years and years and years, so that, and all these technologies, so that he could keep control over the people. But him seeing the joy of creation that's bringing Quinn, he's wondering if he can't bring that to the people and still, protect them in his own way, however that is. So I think all these things really, really, I feel a deep human connection now to Rashek that I never felt in the books. He's a straight up villain in the story, which is fine. But so now this person that we've kind of, this villain that we've kind of dragged down to solid earth, how does Quinn help him from dying in these last moments? How does she either protect him or save him, or... Well, I don't want to change the ending so much. I just want to see if there's any way that Quinn can save him.
What if, after Marsh pulls the pin on the Inquisitor grenade and he falls to pieces,
yes,
the Lord Ruler says, instead of Inquisitors, protect me, he just kind of, he looks around. He's not afraid because he knows what he can do. He is the Lord Ruler. But he's like, you know what? Quinn, baby girl, I need your help. And then she just appears out of nowhere and just owns Marsh in some crazy awesome battle. And Vin's like, I'm sorry, excuse me? What?
Pardon me?
Pardon me? Yeah, I think that if she could come out at the last second, and then something would have to happen to where she could return in the other books. Because I wouldn't want her to just appear and then Vin's like, girl, and then like stab her and she's dead. But she would have to come out, fight, lose somehow, or at least, be knocked out a window or something, and then be able to come back and get revenge, or, track down Vin or something.
Quinn definitely lives like inside the Ash Mounts. Like that's where her smoke-bornness like thrives most. Yes. So I think I definitely think she's there. Maybe I know Vin stabs the Lord Ruler. Maybe she's able to recover the Lord Ruler in some way and revive him in some way, but he can never re-age because he has no age to store because he's so old now. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So she is just caring for him in her home in the Ash Mounts, and just for the last years of his life. And they're kind of just being human together. She's never really known a human place, and he's spent so long away from humanity that they just kind of reconnect in the middle, Benjamin Button style.
That's nice. That's an ending that I'm sure many would not see fit for the Lord Ruler, but at the same time, I think, let him have it. Let him have that that sweet little life. Oh, Ben, I got feelings.
And the first book that she presses is the book of their life.
Yeah.
It's his memoirs. And he finally gets to set the record straight on all the things he did wrong and all the things he did to help people, if he did anything at all. Quinn's a good one. She's a good one to have.
Quinn is a keeper. Maybe it's just because we're making these characters and we're really good at it, but I like the guys we've created.
I wonder if this is how Brandon feels. And then he can kill his characters and just be like, no, that's fine.
They live on in my heart and in this jar. And he rips a name and he puts it in a jar.
And he points over the jar and it's just full of hearts. He's like, they live on in my heart jar.
Hey, Brandon Sanderson. That was Quinn. We hope you like Quinn. If you want to write us our own personal Quinn story, I would not be upset Oh man, I would not be upset in any way.
Absolutely. And for all of you guys, all the regular Brandon Sanderfan fans, thank you so much for listening. This has been a wild ride. I hope that this episode is acoustically more divine than if that's what you're looking for. And I hope that you have enjoyed reading this book again with us. If you have any questions or comments, let us know. We're at bsanderfans on twitter.com. You can always find us there. Sam, where can they find you?
You can find me at Samuel_Loose, Loose, at Twitter, the app or the .com experience. Ben, you've got that good Twitter as well. Where are you at?
I'm at Ben Parrish, BENNPARRISH, on twitter.com. So thank you so much for listening. Next week,
like. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I was going to say this is kind of like the end of this is like our season finale. Maybe next week's more our season finale. It
is like thank you for being a friend is playing in the background, and and we're kind of walking off just like never again. I do feel a little sad that we're saying goodbye to Mistborn for now. We're still going to do some more episodes on it. We're going to go over the logbook next episode, and the episode after that we're going to go over the entirety of Mistborn, and then we're trying to get some clips together to do kind of a clip show for people that maybe didn't listen to the whole series and they want to hear some of the goofs. But thank you so much everyone for listening. That's Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. I'm Ben.
And I'm Sam.
And read a book.
Read a book.